Football is on at Yard House. Step up your game at Yard House with Monday Night Happy Hour from kickoff to the final play, featuring appetizers starting at $5. Enjoy game day favorites including boneless wings, pizzas, poke nachos, and more. Plus, catch all the action on over 20 flat-screen TVs and enjoy the largest selection of draft beer with over 100 beers on tap. This season, make Yard House your home for football. Visit yardhouse.com for details.
You're listening to the Geekcast Radio Network of podcasts.
Welcome to the first ever and debut episode of GCRN WarZ. I am your host, Steve Phillips, and Jimmy, as always, is
GCRN Hello.
Hello. And also in this debut episode, we have a very special guest, my younger brother, Brian. Hello.
Hello, my name is Brian.
Hi, Brian.
To the point.
We'll start out with a quote. In the words of Ronald Reagan, in this present crisis, government cannot solve the problem. Government is the problem. How does this relate to healthcare issues that are plaguing us today?
Well, and for those that are wondering, the topic, we'll get into that in just a second, Brian. The topic is healthcare and dirty government and the horrors that they've instilled upon us. This show is basically going to be a giant, controversial, discussion-based show.
This is basically our debate show. This is basically take the ranting out of, well, I don't know, but the way I would equate it is take the ranting out of Headshot, and you get this.
Yeah, basically constructive discussion.
Civilized conversation.
Yes. So anyways, we'll go back to your statement. Can you repeat the question one more time?
In the words of Ronald Reagan, in this present crisis, government cannot solve the problem. Government is the problem. Now, unfortunately, today's progressive government does not seem to understand why that quote was instilled upon us. And now, within the next 10 years of this healthcare reform being in place, most of us are going to end up paying a negative price for it.
Yeah, I can see this definitely hitting home, especially for people that that don't have, at this point in time anyway, healthcare involved with their jobs. Because I know that when I was at that point working, for instance, just fast food jobs, I could barely afford to keep my vehicle running and pay my bills, let alone worry about paying for extra taxes or extra bullshit to, and yes, you can swear in this, extra bullshit into, paying healthcare when, I can understand that everybody should have access to it at a cheaper, affordable price, but at the same time, the government should not be running it. The government has taken too much of a active role in every bit of U.S. government business and sticking their nose in other countries, as well as trying to act like this is a blessing in disguise in terms of helping us when I'm sure that there are some things good in this bill, but at the same time, there's probably a lot of crap we don't even know about hidden inside of it.
Exactly.
I'm honestly just here for color commentary because I don't know how this whole new thing would affect me anyway, but because I get Social Security and I'm on Medicaid or whatever it is that goes along with that, and I don't like going to the doctor anyway, this really doesn't affect me, but I am pretty much totally against anything that this quote-unquote president is going to do. Because, you know, everybody thought George W. Bush was a bad president. I guarantee you Obama's going to be 10 times worse.
You've gone from one extreme to the other.
Yep. And it doesn't help.
To tell you the truth,
Oh, go ahead, Steve.
You can go ahead.
I was going to say, it doesn't help, you know, and this is probably going to be a very controversial show because it's going to kind of let me vent some of my frustrations a little bit. It doesn't help that, oh my God, we now have a black president. Holy crap. You know, it's like, everybody's like, oh, well, it's about time that we needed it and blah, blah, blah. No, we didn't.
And it's not even so much about that, it's the fact that it just, we need to change, but I don't quite think this was the way to go. I mean, yeah, he was something totally different, which is what everybody was wanting after the screw-ups created by Bush, but honestly, I'd gladly go back to the way things were.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not even the fact that he's black, it's the fact that he's very, very unprofessional in what he does. Apparently, my mom was telling me that, you know, the first, I don't know, 2 or 3 lines out of his mouth the other night were jokes about Tiger Woods. What the hell?
Yeah, the president's not supposed to be a comedian.
No, and it's like on the campaign trail, you know, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with this, but it's just something that should be kept separate from the public eye. You know, he's, you know, into the March Madness thing. You know, he was doing this last year in 2008 when he was running for president. You know, it's okay to, you know, it's okay to be, you can show that you could be, cool, but does that really fit in with being a leader?
Oh, I mean, it does, but it doesn't. So, I mean, I don't know. I think things should be done a lot differently. And especially with, and bringing a healthcare topic, I think that this should have been something that, they gave the public, the we the people part, complete, knowledge of, and had us actually vote on everything instead of having the government decide everything for us. Like, here, you can't think for yourselves, so we're going to do it for you. This isn't the 1700s, people.
Yeah.
We can read and write and make our own decisions. We're all educated, well, most of us, and informed. So at the same time, we should be able to decide this, not have the government figure out how they're going to blow our money for us.
Yeah, that's where the controversy begins now. And throughout the 20th century, we're becoming more and more educated, but now we're starting to go backwards as far as education is concerned because the education system has become so commercialized by, you know, child marketers and pretty much progressive, for example, the history books. They leave important things out that pretty much are critical to knowing pretty much anything that resembles what's going on today. They don't want anybody to know that this very thing, well, something similar happened in history, per se, when Franklin D. Roosevelt was a president. You know, he tried to come out with what was called the Second Bill of Rights, and which also included, you know, health care for all. And this was in 1944. It's a job for everyone, a home for everyone, an education for all. You know, it's, you know, all these things would be nice, but with too many people in the country to allocate all these resources efficiently, you know, it's a trait of socialism, actually, if you know your basic economics. And it's un-American, you know.
Well,
Like,
I mean, on the one hand, I do agree with having, a healthcare reform so that everybody has access to it and at a, hopefully cheap, affordable cost, considering a good percentage of people don't have healthcare.
yeah.
But at the same time,
You shouldn't be penalized for not taking into the government's version. If you got your own, keep it, because, it's kind of unbelievable that the IRS of all agencies is the one in charge of collecting the fees on this. And while there's really nothing they already got their hands tied in the first place with the people who don't even pay any kind of tax whatsoever. But pretty much what's going to end up happening is that they're going to start taking, if they're going to fine people for not using the government-run healthcare, they're going to start taking out of their income tax returns. And, whether the U.S. citizen likes it or not. And speaking of U.S. citizen, I also heard somewhere that our illegal immigrants have been granted amnesty with this bill as well, and they're covered under it.
That's bullshit.
yeah, that is bullshit. And in my opinion, we need to stop letting so many of these people back in our country. We need to, hone in, stop tossing money at other countries. I understand that Haiti just, got hit by a thing, but other countries should also help pitch in, not just the United States, which is already trillions of dollars in debt. This should be something that, okay, you feel bad, help them a little bit, but for the most part, we need to stick to our own country and get it back up and running. Well, like the isolationism from World War II era. The only reason we joined in the war was because they bombed the shit out of Pearl Harbor. Otherwise, we were an isolationism country. We stayed the hell out of everybody else's, and for the most part, our country did fine with the exception of the stock market.
Yeah.
Have we even withdrawn troops from overseas?
No.
That's the first fucking thing that needs to be done. Going back to what you said, Steve, we need to focus more on our own country. I can understand about helping out, like when natural disasters happen, like Haiti and all that. We need to get the fucking troops out of that whole situation over there. Let those countries deal with their own shit, and we need to focus more on this.
This is why we have, church groups, humanitarians, and individuals who want to give out and help out. That's why they're here. It's not the government's job to do this. It's not the government's job to, play helper. You can't help anybody else unless you help yourself first.
Yeah, you have to be on strong ground to actually be able to, do anything. I mean, it's this healthcare reform. I could think even going back as far as everything Obama's done so far. The tax rebates, the cars for clunkers, bailing out all these companies and especially these banks that are still, by the way, giving bonuses to their people. We could have been using this to create brand new jobs, which would in turn, instead of just handing us a little chump change, they could be helping people that are unemployed or living off the system actually get off their ass and get a job and pump their money back in the system so that it would actually keep the economy sustained instead of keeping in this downward spiral, which we're currently in.
Well, yeah. Well, we've got a lazy generation that's been brought up, the me generation, and pretty much people are being trained on how to live off the system so they don't have to work for a damn thing. And that's one thing that pretty much pisses us all off, because we're here working our ass off and they're just sitting enjoying our tax dollars.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, if somebody wants to legally come into this country, that's more than fine, but illegal immigrants, they need to be kicked the hell out and not offered health care, for Christ's sake.
If they want in America, they should be able to go and do it legally. It doesn't take much effort.
Well, and stop handing out these damn visas and make people actually either become a damn member and pay taxes like everybody else, or kick them the hell out.
Yep.
It's just going to be bullshit because we're handing our money to people that aren't helping our economy whatsoever. They're just draining it.
Like, yeah, not just the illegals, but like you said, the people that aren't even contributing to the system. There's something I said, back in October. I have here. There's such a sense of entitlement coming from a lazy generation, and where there is no incentive, there is no productivity. Where there's no productivity, there is no money made. Where there's no money made, there's a desolated nation because the government goes bankrupt. We are borrowing money like the British monarchy did in colonial time. Have their own tea parties against us because they will no longer accept our debts. We are about to lose our A++ credit rating to China, and they are starting to turn away from all of our bonds and pretty much anything else they invest in the American dollar and our soil. And that's who we get all of our debt, our debt spending from. And when they start demanding that money back, where's it going to come from?
Of course, taxpayer pocket.
Exactly. That's one of the things they're trying to do. And one of the things that's probably going to happen in the healthcare. Now, you guys probably already know that with the current system in place, with the government programs, you know how, like, you go to some, like, you go to Walgreens or Meijer, they'll give restrictions on certain services and medications. They'll say, this, only so much of this will be covered and only so much of that will be covered. And as you see, progressively over time, you lose more and more benefits, yet the premiums either stay the same or go up. It just becomes another cash cow for the pretty much it's just another dummy program to sap taxpayer dollars out of us.
Well, see, and another thing is I wish that they'd, instead of pumping money into this, everybody could use healthcare. And for those of us that can't afford it, do have it. But at the same time, they should be pumping, like, for instance, we're, locally or actually live in, myself and my brother do, live in Flint, Michigan. So in this area, it's so bad that they laid off, I think it was like 40-some police officers in the city, so that it's down to 5 police officers per shift.
Wow.
Yeah, when they laid off
the firefighters. We only have 2 open out of the 5 now, and then the trash pickup is every other week now.
Not only that, but this is what happened. Today was the day that all the firefighters got laid off. There were 7 or 8 different, fires this morning, different wards, pretty much. And they say that this started as retaliation by these laid off firefighters.
And I don't even think it's that. I think it's just people doing it just in general, just to prove a point.
Yes, they're pissed because they're losing their job because of bullshit. And, they're saying, they only kept their jobs this long because of the stimulus package. Well, I really don't know what to say about that, but people gotta survive. The more jobs are cut, the worse the economy is going to get. It's a no-brainer. Somebody's got to have a risk of some sort. Somebody's got to take the risk, but nobody's willing to do it. Not even the banks. I mean, one thing we could have done, instead of bailing out the banks, we could have, now, this could have been only a one-time thing, obviously, but we could have bailed out all the people that were in debt. It's like, hey, pay off, use this money to pay off all your debts, and that way, not only would the consumer have had not been in debt anymore, they would have been out. So giving the banks their money back that they were losing. That's killing 2 birds with one stone. I don't know why anybody didn't think of that.
Yeah, it just in general this whole thing just it stinks. I mean, there's going to come a point where the government is it's going to control. It's going to be like basically like the Borg of Star Trek.
Or if you've read George Orwell's 1984, it's going to be like Big Brother.
Well,
pretty much already it.
They're going to be this big hive mind controlling everything, and there isn't a damn thing you can do to step away from it. You either go with the flow or you're gone.
They'd throw me in the gone section.
Yeah, they probably would. A lot of us. That's why there's such a big issue over this. I mean, there's so much. I mean, shit, they're laying off teachers too. I mean, we can't afford to keep anything in this country that, all these other countries are benefiting from us. I mean, generation after generation, the intelligence rate as well as the will to work, because of these systems that the government has put in place that people get to live off the system instead of, here we go, pop another baby out. Here we go, let's sit on our ass and live off welfare. It's not like, and I'm not saying everybody abuses it because, there's a lot of people that do need it. But at the same time,
legitimately,
but a lot of people just mooch off the system because that's the only way they can survive. Instead of giving people the means to get more, money and pay, and to keep jobs and to keep everything flowing, in the circle of life, we're going to end up in the, I don't know if you've seen the movie Idiocracy.
Oh yes.
The intelligence rate down there, and then we're going to end up having barcodes in our arms or microchips, just so we can scan like credit cards and healthcare and all that other crap. Which if you go according to the Bible and that's
like the Antichrist, 7-year reign right there.
Yeah, so just everything in general is completely and utterly fucked.
That's one thing that really pisses me off is the whole welfare thing. It's one of those things where couples or hell, even single females just go out, have all these babies and get all this damn money, yet I'm sitting here poor as hell. Yeah, I can go get a job at McDonald's or wherever, but still, it's like,
it doesn't make enough.
Yeah, it doesn't make enough at all. Hell, Social Security isn't even enough. I've been on Social Security since I was, since I was born, but I just like me, myself, my young adult self, even though I'm fucking 30 now, I'm not a young adult anymore, but like I started getting it when I was like 18, 19 when I was gonna start going to college. And it's not enough at all. I barely make by every month. And, I could go get a job to supplement it, but it's still gonna hurt the Social Security because they take, I think it's for every $2 I make, they take $1 out of that check. So, why the hell can't I get help as far as financial, not even financially, just grants, loans, whatever, to, for example, do this podcasting thing to be a little bit more professional with it. Yeah, I've probably spent maybe $200 for equipment overall, and that's just replacing headsets and microphones and all that stuff. That's not getting like sound mixers and any of the other crap that we would need for us to sound more professional. But they're giving everybody else a damn handout with all this stuff. Where the hell is mine?
Mm-hmm. Where's our bailout?
Exactly.
For instance, I'm working a full-time job and a part-time job, and my wife is working 2 to 3 part-time jobs because we can't make enough money. She can't even get a full-time job because there's nothing left. Everything's going away.
Full-time job does not exist anymore, pretty much.
No, and you're lucky as hell if you can find one.
Exactly. It's not like what our parents grew up with. At 19, they get out and go to the shop, and they're making a good wage, hopefully for the rest of their life. At the time, they hope so. But that pretty much that life is gone. We gotta bust our ass now. Now, there's nothing wrong with a good hard work ethic, but all these sappers do the same as we are.
Yeah, well, and for instance, when I mentioned the fact that people are just popping up babies, shit, look at like Octomom, and then you got like cases
18
around
18 and going, or 18 and counting.
Well, I'm sure they actually make their ends meet. I'm sure the show
well,
pays
they probably do, but I was giving an example, TV show, not really sure.
Yeah, and
Giant Cape plus 8.
Yeah, well, even they made ends meet. They're not even really an example like that other Octomom.
Octomon's the biggest example of that.
Yeah, well, we get that crap around Michigan all the time, but if you go to like Wisconsin, for instance, the more kids you have, the less welfare you get. You get, X amount of dollars for one. They cut it in half for 2, and 3, you're done.
How much better is their economy than ours?
Yeah, well, and their state is actually booming because they're able to build businesses and they have a lower crime rate. I mean, in certain areas, of course. I mean, it's going to be bad everywhere, but
Yeah.
just overall, I mean, it's pretty sick to think about the fact that we're working our ass off for these people to mooch.
Yeah.
Because I mean, shit, I'd love to sit on my ass and get paid.
Oh yeah, that'd be nice.
I mean, I would love nothing more than that. But
At the other end of the spectrum too, you got these people, and for these people in Washington, or pretty much a lot of the rich people who just have either a lot of inherited or investments that they just sit on it and sit on their money and pretty much contribute absolutely nothing.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I wish that they would. There's got to be a better way of doing this whole healthcare reform and doing just anything to revitalize our economy and our country.
Yeah.
Just overall, this whole thing just sucks.
And it's one of those things where, like we've been saying, first of all, I can't go with too many details, but I work for a nonprofit child care facility who also caters to young adults. Okay. And one of our programs is a 6-month program that we basically give them a free apartment for 6 months. They're to get a job and start saving money and everything else. It's one of those things where the problem comes where they have all these friends who don't go out and get jobs and start mooching off of them, and then they go without what they need because they want to help these people. It's just that whole lifestyle where it's like, okay, I've got this great apartment, I need to start keeping it. Oh wait, no, I have this friend, and then that friend turns into that friend, and that friend turns into that friend. You have 16, 20 different people living in one bedroom apartment, and it's just ridiculous.
It's a domino effect.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, overall, I don't know. It's they need to actually consult the people instead of making so many damn decisions without us.
Yeah, it was blatantly obvious there was opposition to that they should have reconsidered a lot of things with this bill, and they just kept right on going. Why do you guys talk? I'm gonna go look for something that was said by Nancy Pelosi at one time, and when I saw it, it really pissed the hell out of me about her persistence.
Yeah, I can see something coming up in the future. I mean, yeah, we go to the drugstore and we get, for instance, pain medicine or, just any kind of prescription or over-the-counter drug. I can see at some point with this healthcare reform that they're going to require us to, get doctor's notes for it. I mean, just crazy crap like that. I can see it coming down the pipeline if we keep this stupid reform. And as for the reform, I hope that, I mean, while it is a good thing, I think it would be a good thing to have just in general help out buddy. Like till recently, I wasn't able to get health insurance, which I could have used a lot earlier. But I think that they need to draw the reins in first, work this out a little bit more, and then bring it back and actually let the people vote on it once it's all been settled, after they give every freaking detail of how they're going to blow our money on it. Because I know that they're going to start taxing us for it again this year, and at some point they're going to actually live up to it, but I'm just hoping that this gets repealed.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if you guys can hear this. I I loaded up on YouTube is Nancy Pelosi, what she is willing to do to pass health care. Hopefully you guys can hear this.
We'll go through the gate's closed, we'll go over the fence is too high, we'll pole vault in, parachute in, but we're going to get healthcare reform passed for the American people, for their own personal health and economic security.
What I have to say to that is, yeah, right.
Yeah. That
God,
the Democrats are just so gung-ho on it.
In the words of Sylvester, that's a load of thuckatash.
In the words of Steve, that's a load of shit.
All right.
I will crush them. Yes. I don't know. It's just this. They seem. What's that?
A lot of this is that pretty much the younger generation, we're lucky people, but a lot of our generation, they grew up brainwashed because of the whole consumerism marketing. They grew up thinking that I want to be rich when I grow up, and with this fantasy, false expectations of what real life is, and unfortunately, some of them are not willing to realize what. They're failing to realize that all they're doing is putting off their culture shock. Reality's gonna hit them in the face one way or another. Ignorance is bliss until reality hits you in the face.
Now, I can see where this healthcare reform would be a good thing. For instance, for people that are very ill, or they're older, or if it's a newborn or a child, I can see that. I can understand that, completely, of having them automatically covered. But as far as the working class, for them to charge us on top of it, I just.
It's not the government's job to force us into having healthcare.
You know what really pisses me off about the whole.
The other day, they said, "Well, what about?"
Go ahead, Brian.
I said, well, I was talking to a classmate the other day in one of my classes, and she was talking about, well, they do the same thing with car insurance. I'm like, yeah, but they only make you pay car insurance if you have a car. There's, pretty much, if you're alive, they're going to charge you for health care. And it's like, shouldn't it be my choice whether or not I want health care? What if I don't want health care? What if I don't want their health care? They're still going to make me get it one way or another, or pay for it one way or another, even if I'm not using it.
Well, they'll take it out of your taxes for, regardless. But I mean, I think if you've already got health care, they're not going to double it up on you and make you, take it out of your paycheck or whatever. But, it's,
They say that everybody's got the right to health care. It's like, no, it's not a right. It's a privilege. If the government provides a right, it also means they can take it away. And, much it's a slippery slope. Let's say that, okay, we want everybody in the United States to have a car, but you can only have more than one car if everybody else can have more than one car. So what does that mean to you if they pass some law saying that every household can have a car, but with socialism everything's got to be equal? If you got two cars in your house, they're gonna make you pick one, and they're gonna take the other home or they're gonna take the other one with them to the station. And if they say everybody's entitled to have a computer in their house, it's like, okay, well, if you have 3 of them in your house, they're gonna make sure that you have just as much as they don't have anything more than what the person next door has. So that means if you have excess of anything, they aren't gonna care. They're gonna take it, until you match the lowest of the low.
Communism, anyone?
Exactly. And what it should be is it should be tailored to each individual situation. Not one big...
Well, and I think that's what they're trying to go for. But, it's still too hard to see at this point in time.
One of the things about the child welfare thing you guys had mentioned earlier, one of the things that really pisses me off when I read in Reader's Digest about families with young children or babies or whatever, kids that are anywhere from, brand new newborns to 9-10 years old that say get born with a condition, and the health insurance or whatever will not cover them because quote unquote it's a pre-existing condition. That is the worst fucking excuse I have ever heard of.
That's called the government saying, basically, fuck you for being different.
Exactly. They allow absolutely, no deviance whatsoever from what they define as the norms.
Well, and there's no accountability on their end either.
Well, of course, they're the government.
Well, yeah, they've elected the police. I mean, they're not gonna. Nothing's going to change.
People need to realize that, next time they go to the election booth, it's not going to matter whether you elect the R, the D, the red, or the blue. You have to go outside of the norm in the two-party system and vote for a third party if you want anything to change. You have to vote for the person that's outspoken, because the one getting all the publicity is with all the money and all the special interests.
Well, and especially with when you get damn it, I forgot what I was going to say. But it would be nice to see something other than Republican and Democrat in there that could actually maybe, throw us a curveball and actually change things and actually listen to the people instead of saying, yeah, everybody should have this, everybody should have that, everybody should have this, and here, we're going to blow all this money on it just because we think that's wrong.
Well, we came very close in 1992 and 1996 with Ross Perot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and we had a bunch of independents in this latest election as well. But I see that number doubling over the next election anyhow.
You know what? I don't know. I am so far out of, honestly, as far as politics goes, I mean, we can talk about healthcare and just general government stuff all we want, but me personally, as far as I feel about politics, it doesn't matter it doesn't matter where they came from, who they are, what nationality, what color, they could be fucking purple aliens from Pluto, and all politicians are corrupt. Everybody has an agenda. Everybody wants this. Everybody wants that. And like I said before, I think it just needs to be tailored to the situation. You cannot put a outwardly global thing saying, this is what we're doing and that's it. If you don't like it, whatever.
Exactly.
And as I stated on Facebook before, Canada, anyone?
Oh boy. Yeah, it's like it's time to move.
Yeah, everything is unfortunately going to that point in time. I mean, we're focusing too much on other countries and not enough on ourselves, and too much on how to spend this money that we don't actually have on these new little ideas that supposedly will benefit us, when right at this moment the Social Security is paying out more than what is going in.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
well, it's not only that. They stopped it this year. Apparently, nationwide, there was no there was no cost of living increase this year. And the way that the Social Security system works with the cost of living is that if the cost of living goes up, the checks go up. If it stays the same, the check will stay the same as the previous year. Or if it goes down, which would really fucking suck, especially for me, if it goes down, the check will go down. Since there was no cost of living increase this year, my check is the same as it was last year, but like I said before, it's still not enough. And as far as government stuff, I mean, I guess you could say I have a job as far as real life, but I really don't get paid for it. I get more benefit out of it than actual pay. I haven't filed taxes in God knows how long. I have no reason to. I don't make any money outside of Social Security, And obviously Social Security is part of the government, so the IRS must know that I have Social Security. I don't fucking know. But it's like one of those things where, it's one of those things where, I got, the census thing in the mail the other day. Big bold letters on it says, you must fill this out as required by law. Fuck you. That's what I say. Fuck you.
For instance, I know people that haven't filled it out. And
I've never seen one.
You won't get one. You don't live on your own. It's to the head of household.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you won't get one until you move out. This is the first time I've gotten one, and that's only because I'm on my own, and it's 2010. Of course, the 10-year mark. So, I mean, it's
So it'll be 2020.
Yeah, well, but I mean, it's bullshit that you're being forced to. I mean, I understand that it's used for funding purposes, but what the hell does it matter? Send the money where it's got to go, because we don't have enough of actual, government hired officials. And when I say officials, I don't mean these bullshit people that sit in City Hall and say, this is what we should do, as they're sitting there with a thumb up their ass trying to figure out what to do next. This money that we've given to some of the construction workers, I've seen them sit outside of my primary job, which I'm not going to name. I've seen them sit outside, and they come out, every few months and going to tear up the damn road because they can't seem to get it right the first time. They've been out probably 8 times in the last 2 years to fix this same plot of land because, of course, they're retarded. And they get paid hourly, and then they get overtime. And most of the time, we don't actually see them do anything. So it makes me wonder why they pay these douchebags all this money, and then we're firing cops. Like firefighters.
That's the other thing. You guys mentioned that you have 5 cops in your town or your province or whatever the hell they're called over there. Our Louisville Metro, because I live in Louisville, Kentucky, Louisville Metro Police Department, you know what the average response time is? What? 40 minutes.
Good grief.
You know what the average one in Flint, Michigan is?
2 hours?
Yeah, pretty much, unless you tell them you got a gun.
Yeah, that's the thing. Unless you tell them somebody's got a gun. Yeah.
And then I live in Grand Blanc, which is only 20 minutes from there. And we've got cops all over the damn place, yet somehow that city looks pretty damn good, except for, the roads, which is kind of federally helped. But we have cops all around. There's no crime out there. There's businesses booming. Everything's pretty damn stable in that city. But when you go to Flint, it's completely run down. There's people can't even afford to buy a damn car anymore. Or can't afford to buy, jack shit, and you got to have credit, which... let me see. The banks have fucked everybody's credit, so even if you have good credit, you got to jump through extra loops just to get money.
10, 15 years ago, you could go to a Ford dealership and you could look at a Ranger or the F-150 or some sort of Ford truck, and it would be a reasonable price, like say $10,000, $12,000, $15,000. You go there now. And just the regular vehicles, not even the custom luxury things, just a regular Ford pickup truck, is like $20,000, $25,000, $30,000. That's fucking nuts.
And you trim $10,000 off of that once you drive it off the lot. Just some.
Well, that's a little bit of an understatement, but it's like right now. I work at one, so it's a little bit different. 6 months ago, back when they did that Cars for Clunkers.
Mm-hmm.
Cars were freaking cheap. Now, because the government decided to stick their nose in there, it was a good thing getting those vehicles off the road, but because they did that, and then they couldn't get their shit together when they did it because they changed the way it was supposed to be filed, every couple days for the first, week. So, and then their site would crash constantly, so you couldn't actually accomplish anything. Cars were much cheaper back then. Right now, they're ungodly high.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand why that's not doing so hot. And then you've got the recent, of course, companies like Toyota, which have, up until recent, had to fix every single one of their model lines because of a stupid gas pedal, which I still think is a electrical/computer programming issue, which they're trying to use the pedal as a cop-out. But I mean, it just everybody's willing to push the blame. Nobody's willing to take, acceptance and just say, hey, yeah, we fucked up. How can we make this up?
Yeah, that's just stupid.
Any other comments or anything? Anybody? It's funny you mentioned the cash for clunkers thing. I saw something on the news when that happened. It's the news. You don't know if you can believe it or not. But mentioned something about some computers that access the Cash for Clunkers website. There's a little provision that people failed to read that said if you log on to this website, your computer now belongs to the government.
They just mean the information you're transmitting belongs to the government. It doesn't mean the actual computer.
Probably a miscommunication then.
No, I'm sure they meant what they said. They think that they're high and mighty when, yes, they are high and mighty, but at the same time, they're sticking their nose too many damn places instead of just doing what they need to do and staying the hell out.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, we're not going to win what we want to win. We're not going to get what we want to get. We're going to get what they want to give us, and that sucks.
Yeah, pretty much if I had the resources, the gas, the money, the job, etc. saved up, I'd be one of those people in D.C. right now, promoting the Tea Party.
I'd create my own party. It would be the Predacons.
Oh, God.
I would terrorize their life.
Oh, boy.
No, I'd be vengeance in the night. I'd be Batman.
Oh, my God.
No evil would stand unturned.
Yeah.
Your picture.
I'm joking, of course, but you know what I mean. I mean, just they need to scale back, pull everything back home, deal with home first. Pull all the soldiers back.
We need another Reagan.
We need somebody that's going to do something completely different and stay the hell out of everybody else's countries and go back to the isolationism. Which, by the way, nobody decided to screw with us until after we started doing that. After we started sticking our nose where it didn't belong, instead of just going in after somebody screwed us and bomb them, get it over with, come back, and then stay the hell away from them and rebuild, no, we sit there and we have to instigate more shit.
Yeah, we did that in the Soviet Union, even as far back as Kennedy, and we had the Cold War going on until the collapse of the Soviet Union. And Soviet Union is a perfect example of why socialism doesn't work, also.
Yeah, it's just...
All it was is a hollow shell. That's what we look like right now. Our nation looks high and mighty, but we're actually just a hollow shell. You break the egg, still.
Well, I mean, technically we're on our way to almost becoming, second, third world country because we don't actually own jack shit. Everything is made out of the country. Malaysia, Taiwan, China, Japan, somewhere. I mean, it just... And on top of it, Mexico too, but I mean, it's just... Nothing is here. We're a service nation. Nothing is left.
Yeah, a lot of the downhill started also when they took the gold standard off of our currency. Those started with Johnson and Nixon, and now all our money is just papers worth nothing, and that's why our inflation rates. If you go back to I forgot what it's called, the CPI, this Consumer Price Index, has changed so much ever since they took the gold standard off, and it's like now we can't even because we don't own any of our gold anymore. Fort Knox and whatnot is probably owned by China, Saudi Arabia, anybody we owe money to. There's no way that we'll be able to come back from that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, I don't know. This whole thing just stinks.
Yeah, it's kind of funny how Obama tries to mention that the healthcare thing works in Canada. Well, the only reason it works in Canada is because they only have 10% of the population that the United States has. Of course it's going to work. Even then, their system's not perfect. People, die waiting 5 or 6 months in line just to see a doctor.
Well, and some of their health care is mediocre at best.
A lot of people in Canada cross the border to the United States just to get medical help because they know they're going to get it. But now, with people that may or may not actually need to be there, and because people are saying, well, you need to build more hospitals. Well, it's like it's kind of hard to do that when there's no money to build any.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah, I just don't understand why they can't come up with a solution to things that are cost effective and yet fulfill the need. And to tell you the truth, it all starts with jobs. They need to create new jobs here in the U.S. to kind of scale back and bring these companies that originally they drove away back in, give them incentive to come back, and then give them American workers who can afford to buy the product and make it American.
Yeah.
Because along the way, we've lost the American way. It's just everything's gone.
Yeah.
There's two things. There's two things. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, Brian. I was just agreeing with Steve.
Yeah, well, there's two things that we need to do. First of all, we need to manufacture something in this country, and it has to be something tangible. We have to bring, like, factories and whatnot back here. So we are actually exporting something tangible to not only to us, but to other countries. And second of all, we have all these rules and regulations that all these factories and companies have to follow, and each one of those in itself costs its own amount of money. It's like no wonder it's cheaper to produce outside of our country because you have all these different regulations, like the EPA and all those others that are going to put all these restrictions on you if you don't follow these guidelines, which a lot of times it's not cheap to follow those guidelines in the first place. Because of these regulations, it makes no financial sense to stay here, and that's why they're moving.
Comments, anyone?
Well, it's one of those, you're right, Brian, but the thing is, now that you said that, you mentioned the EPA, the first thing that pops, unfortunately, because I'm a geek, the first thing that pops into my head is Grandpa Simpson going crazy on the church floor, and the next thing you know, Springfield's in a dome. We need to put a giant fucking dome on the United States of America.
Biodomes for everyone. With special garage door action.
What I want to know is how they manage to keep an atmosphere in there.
I don't know.
Christmas at Ground Zero.
Okay, we're kind of getting a little silly here. Do we have any more serious topic pointers or whatever that we want to bring up?
No, I think I'm about spent unless Brian's got more to discuss.
Well, I don't have very much left, but we could probably talk about how what our culture has trained children to be in the past, ever since the 80s, I'd have to say. And going back to the whole commercialism thing and growing up wanting to be rich, but what is that I see society as a hierarchical pyramid, pretty much, with the poor at the bottom and at the base, and the middle class in the middle, and the rich at the very top. And the higher you go, the less people there are with that amount of wealth, and also the worse your job security is and the more dangerous your job is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The welfare system is meant to be a temporary relief when someone can't find a job or work. Like my girlfriend's dad is a carpenter. He hasn't had a union job in 2 years, and that's pretty much the only skill he's got. He just does the No Worker Left Behind program to continue going to school, but they only give him just enough to pay his unemployment's been getting extended, but he doesn't know for how long. It's unfair, and because he's in his late 40s, he can't really find another job or skill anyways, because a lot of the jobs are age discriminatory. They don't see a future with someone who's, that old already. So they're not going to invest their time in him. They're not going to hire him.
And that's what's kind of sad because, and again, the geek in me is flashing to Uncle Ben in Spider-Man 1, where he's looking through the want ads and it's tech this and computer that and whatever else. Honestly, I see most elderly people nowadays when I do attempt to step outside my apartment, which regrettably isn't that much anymore because people this day and age in general are just dumb and have no common sense. I see most
intellect has gone way down.
I see most elderly people working at fast food joints.
Yeah, sad as that is, I do too.
Work at a fast food area too, and two main managers have been there for over 30 years. They both knew each other and been there since the 70s.
Yep.
And the first and second manager.
Yeah, see, I couldn't imagine myself being in the same place.
I could if it paid.
Yeah. Then again, we all can't have jobs at Apple.
Well, see, I'm going to school to become an accountant. I grew up, liking numbers and whatnot. And Steve can tell you this: I used to do his homework when he was in first grade. Wasn't barely in kindergarten yet. He'd go over to a friend's house, and I would do his main homework. He'd come back, and even my name would be on it. He'd be pretty mad at me. But
thief.
I kind of find it ironic that I'm going into accounting now. That I have a lot of us have our, and thing is that a lot of accountants and whatnot are retiring now, and they're in big demand. But the problem is I'm not going to be able to find a job in Michigan, for example, because there's 5,000 accountant students in Michigan, and there's only like 1,500 jobs. So that means there's a 70% chance that I'd have to move out of Michigan to even find a job.
You know what that means? Work for the government. Teach them how to finance or manage their damn money.
You know what? Well, it's like pretty much anybody else would tell me good luck with that. Because they're going to want it their way and their way only. And, I've got an uncle who's been up and down every block, and if the company offers him more money, he goes from job to job, just climbing his way up the ladder. But he's been dropped from a few jobs because, I agree with this. You have to have ethics. Now, in some instances, yeah, you may show that you got fired from some jobs, but it also gives you a track record, man, and that you mean business. It'll give you a good reputation. It's like, hey, this person got fired because they did the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
If we know that this person will do the right thing, we can trust them to do their job. That's the kind of people, that's the kind of worker we need. We need somebody with a good work ethic and not this me mentality.
The only reason why I have, this is just me personally, the only reason why I have the whole me mentality at this point in time is because, like I said before a little while ago, everybody else is getting helped but me.
Well, see, I agree with that.
That's the reason why I have the me mentality. On it, my mom will call me and say, "Oh, did you see this on the news?" or "Oh, did you see that on the news?" or I don't watch the news. The news is so depressing nowadays. I would have much I don't know. I was 6, 7 years old when Reagan was still in office. I could actually sit there as a 7-year-old and watch Ronald Reagan do a speech. Whereas now, if I'm watching a news channel, my brain will explode because I just can't stand to watch it.
I can't anymore either. I've watched the news since 2003, and the only one I can actually watch is Fox News. I
can't even watch them.
Oh, that's because they like to spout what they want.
Well, it's a lot better. One I would not be able to stand at all is MSNBC. That's like the liberals' love affair.
Dun-dun, Microsoft.
Yeah, that's the other thing that's pissing me off is the whole PC versus Mac. I grew up on. I know this is almost completely off the topic of what we're discussing, but it's like this whole I'm better than. It actually goes back to class, like what Brian was saying earlier. The whole class pyramid thing. It's like, oh, I'm better than you. No, I'm better than you. It's just sick. If you're a PC person, you're a PC person. Or if you're a Mac person, you're a Mac person. If you're both, fine. I grew up on Mac. My first computer was an Apple IIgs. That was the choice I made. I had a choice between Apple and IBM. And I made the choice of Apple. I used Apple up until, I don't know, middle school or whatever, and then I switched to PC, and I've been PC ever since. I love a lot of the Apple products, but, and while I think their commercials are hilarious, I just don't get the whole tech war of PC versus Mac. It is just one of those things where it's a whole, it's a very soft version of the whole class issue. It's like, who's a better class? Well, no, they each have their own, they each have their own components, and they each have their own strengths and weaknesses. Neither one is better than the other. But anyways, basically the government sucks, and the healthcare horror that this dumbass president has put us in is just a nightmare that we will never escape. Especially when,
It's not just the president.
Huh?
It's not just the president either. It's our Speaker of the House as well. It's a team effort.
It's that whole damn...
The rules.
Well, it's all them damn bureaucrats that sit in the office and say, what can we
Bureaucrats,
fuck
yes.
up today?
I was looking for that word earlier, bureaucrats. It pretty much alienates the rest of us.
Yeah, and, it's one of those things where the sad fact about the presidency of this country is that it's nothing but a catch-up game. Obama just got into office. He will spend his entire 4, hopefully not 8-year term, catching up and hopefully trying to do some good from Bush's mistakes. And then whenever he's gone, the next president will do the same thing, trying to fix. We will never be ahead of ourselves in this United States government. Never. I can equate it to podcasting. I was mentioning to Steve earlier today, before we even started this discussion this morning, one of my shows, I have a backlog of episodes, so I'm ahead of the game. This country, as far as the national debt, as far as the government itself, will never ever get ahead of itself. It is going to be nothing but a catch-up game until the end of time, which is sad.
Yes, very, very much.
And on that note, I think we're going to close this show.
Because it's getting sad. Very, very much.
Okay, Steve, you can stop now.
All right.
Okay, I recommend our viewers our listeners to check out Glenn Beck's radio and TV show, though. It's on Fox News Channel, weekdays at 5. If you're missing us on again at 2 in the morning, this really gives you something to think about, though, what this guy says. I get a lot of my information from him. And I've watched many of his shows in the past year, and I recommend getting the whole family to watch and spread the 912 Project, the group for taking back America and restoring it to the fundamental roots. And that's pretty much what I have to say here.
Yeah.
Only thing is, when they do that, I hope that they abolish this electoral counts and go with the popular, because the electoral was for back in the day when people couldn't think for themselves and couldn't read and write.
Exactly.
And the officials elected each other, whereas now that popular vote, which they enacted around the same time, because that was originally how things were supposed to be done, was, popular vote, okay, we'll make the electoral vote, but now it's just the electoral vote, and a lot of times I'd rather see it as the popular.
Yeah, see, a lot of it has to do, it's just, it depends on how the electoral college goes. Let's just say that, you have, 96% Republican and 4% Democrat. If your person in the Electoral College Board is a Democrat, he's going to vote for that 4% alienated. They can do that, whether people know it or not. And you can't even vote those people out of any positions or anything. They're just there.
Yep. All right, so we have all new outro text. Yay, I went back and redid the entire outro. So, thank you for joining us here on GCRN WarZ, the premiere episode. There are several ways to get in contact with us or leave feedback for the show. You can visit the website, geekcastradio.com, and you can also comment on each episode. You can join our forums, PredaconEmpire.com/Nexus. You can leave the show feedback in iTunes. Follow us on Twitter. I'm not actually going to create an account for this show. I'm just going to have it under the Geekcast Radio account. Mine is TFG1Mike. Brian, do you have Twitter?
I do, but I haven't used it in months.
Okay, Steve.
I do have. Oh, but I don't usually. I'm not as good socially as my brother is, obviously. I only had 6 people on Twitter. I'm like, what the hell? Who the fuck is seeing any of this, anyways? That's pretty much the last thing I left on. It was back in like November. If anybody wants this, Brian P928, I think that's what it is. That's how long it's been since I've been on it, but don't expect any replies more than likely, as I haven't been on it.
Okay. And Steve?
SCP-21.
You can become a fan of ours on Facebook. Search Geekcast Radio Network. Call the voicemail line. Tell us the show you're leaving the message for and your name. We will play each voicemail in the next episode of whatever show. Number is 502-526-5821. We hope you enjoyed this episode of GCRN WarZ and wish you'll join us next time. For now, I am TFG1Mike with
Steve Megatron Phillips
and
Ryan Phillips.
Thank you for listening. Until next time.
Guy knows not to judge a man by his car's multicolored paint job or absence of modern gadgetry. Who cares if it's technically old enough to vote and the windows are powered by the strength of your left arm? Your monthly payment is zero, and it'll stay that way. Because with over 500,000 parts and a little Napa know-how, you can keep anything on the road. She may not be pretty, but she's all yours. That's Napa know-how.
Napa know-how.